Hi, caller Young here with Mike and Spike.
Hello, this is Ann Coulter.
Hey, Ann, how are
I'm
you?
sorry, I'm a few minutes late. I'm sorry.
Oh, you know what? We have it on good authority that you're a busy woman.
At least that's a rumor.
Well, here it was actually just that I screwed up, but I won't go into that.
Oh, no.
I read my first interview beginning time wrong, so I've been a little bit behind all day.
We forgive you. We've got so many people. We're down here in the Arklatex. We cover a big area.
Arkansas, Texas, and Louisiana.
Yeah, Arkansas, Texas, Louisiana. We've got so many people who are so excited about you coming on. We've promoted you for about a week.
Me too. That's a fabulous part of the country.
Oh, people love you down here. Now, we're going to get to your book because we love your book.
Yep.
But there's some questions we want to ask you before we ever get to the book. And one of the things that I noticed yesterday, Compion and Ramos were released, and I couldn't find a major newspaper anywhere. I couldn't even find a newspaper that had anything about them being released. And I thought, I wonder if Ann has any opinion on that.
It's just amazing. It's just amazing. The mainstream media is so powerful. I mean, as I think I demonstrate in this book, and I was actually eagerly anticipating a few years ago the waning of the power of the mainstream media, but it is so big, it is so powerful. It does talk radio, God bless talk radio. There would be no way of getting the truth without talk radio. Well, you'd have to spend hours on the internet every night to find out what the mainstream media is not reporting. But it really is just overwhelming. I mean, and then after covering something up, often major and important issues, liberals will act shocked and perplexed when you bring them up. I saw this on Fox News the other day with the interviewer Greg Jarrett, who isn't even a conservative, by the way, but he's not an idiot, and he was interviewing a liberal and a Democrat about the banking, the bailout, the TARP 2, whatever it was, and he was talking to a former Biden speechwriter, and the Biden speechwriter was, of course, blaming the banking crisis on, capitalism, or whatever they usually blame these things on. And Jarrett said, well, Barney Frank and Chris Dodd, Democrats, they had a lot to do with it, too, as probably your listeners know, and people who do go to search out the truth on the Internet know that it was Barney Frank and Chris Dodd, Democrats, who were pressuring Fannie Mae to give loans to low-income potential home buyers. Political correctness has already ruined athletics, education, airport security. Now it's stepped in to ruin banking. So banks were forced by their agreements with Fannie Mae to completely disregard reasonable business practices, and through things like from Andrew Cuomo and Clinton and the Community Reinvestment Act, but Barney Frank and Chris Dodd really stepped it up. Ignore your standard business judgment and give loans to people you would never in your right mind give loans to.
Right.
Once you abandon standards, I don't even think most of the people going into foreclosure are the deserving poor or deserving lower middle class or whatever. I think most of them are yuppie scum house flippers, because once you change the rules, any schemer can step in and take advantage of them. Anyway, the Biden speechwriter acts shocked and said, "What are you talking about, Barney Frank and Chris Dodd? Are you crazy?" Well, the only reason I had to shoot my TV at that point, but the only reason he can even get away with that is because you have to go to talk radio and the Internet to even find out about Chris Dodd and Barney Frank's complicity in the current banking crisis.
I want to ask you, do you feel like these people are being insincere or dishonest on purpose, or they actually believe this whole cloud, this obfuscation that they have on everything?
I am now completely sure they are being dishonest. I was in Washington a few weeks ago, because that is the constant battle. Are liberals evil, or are they merely stupid?
You said it exactly right.
Some prominent Democrats. I mean, it was a small dinner. They were friends of mine, and we had the wine handy, sitting with Democrats at dinner. But anyway, I was commenting on how Obambi is so much better than I expected on national security. He's basically, thus far, we'll see what happens, continuing the policies of Bush, other than this idiotic little fillip of moving the central battlefront of the war from Iraq to Afghanistan, which is completely insane, but I'll leave that aside. But anyway, these Democrats, whose names you may well have read, started saying, one worked for Gore and one worked for Clinton, started saying, he was never going to shut down Guantanamo. That would be insane. And no, he's not going to pull out of Iraq. We'll stay there until we're finished. And we're not worried about torture. He's going to do the same things. But just one thing after another.
Amazing.
And looking at me like I was a mad woman for believing the things Obama said when he was campaigning. And I realize Democrats now just play their crazy base for fools.
You know, I think the average person doesn't really understand. I've been involved with politics a lot. I ran for Congress out in California against Bob Filner while I was on active duty in the Navy.
Wow, good for you.
Which was a real trick to do. But anyway, I don't think the average person really understands. I think people, they think that when they elect these people that they're all going to Washington to try to do the best job they can. But if you want a shining example of your government at work, you have a clip on your website. You've got Dr. Susanna, is it Hupp? Is her last name?
Oh, yes, from Texas.
Yes, and now they've changed those gun laws here and everything, and that's not where I'm going with this. But now, you listen to her story where they drove that car, the guy through the restaurant, he killed her mother and father and other people.
In front of her.
Yes.
Yeah.
But what's amazing, she's giving this story, in the testimony there, and I mean, what should be not a dry eye in the house, you could see some people are just very moved by it. But what I noticed right off the bat, if you look at Chuck Schumer, he's got this, put a sock in it, lady look on his face.
Just infuriates us.
Exactly right. Exactly right. Oh, yeah, and a new set of fake victims on the same subject are all of these weeping women in New York State who are upset that their new appointed senator to fill Hillary Clinton's spot, Kirsten Gillibrand, that she owns guns. I don't know if you've seen those stories. There are women in New York weeping and saying she shouldn't have them. Or she should get rid of her ammunition. Oh, boo-hoo, it hurts me that she has guns. That is an amazing, that was the Luby's, Texas shooting.
Yes.
And the woman testifying had a gun, but Texas law at the time, at least Texas legislatures aren't as stupid as they are in Washington, that you couldn't bring a gun into a restaurant.
Yeah, they've changed that now in Texas. Oh, yeah.
God bless Texas.
They do, and we do.
You know, and it's okay to make a mistake. And you know what? That's an important thing because I got to tell you, I never thought I'd ever have to use my gun, and I did just a few months ago.
In Florida.
Yeah. You did?
A guy actually stole Spike's, and you know, you got Mike and Spike here, stole Spike's pickup truck. 4 days later, I saw the guy driving it down the road. You're
kidding. Are you making this story up?
No. It's all in the police reports, and the guy actually, I wasn't absolutely sure, so I got out just to kind of look at it, and the windows were really tinted, so I couldn't tell, and he pointed a gun at me. And so it escalated from there, but actually got the truck back. But I never expected in a million years, even with my 20 years in the military, I never expected that I would be in a situation where, and had my daughter in the truck with me, you know, that I would have to draw my weapon and defend myself against some thug like that. And
Good for you. That's an inspiring story.
So, you know, I'm a real Second Amendment person here.
Amen. And I'm really happy because I just paid my truck off like 2 weeks earlier, and he got it back for me.
That's a fantastic story.
So now, going back to...
We'll send you the details on your website.
Excellent. Well, when as the expression goes, when you need a gun, nothing else will do.
That's right.
That's so. I love the way that you put things in little capsules that I finally get. Oh, you know what? I have to.
That is another great example of the theme of my book. Specifically now in the case of Kirsten Gillibrand, but people like Caroline McCarthy, the woman whose husband and son were shot on the Long Island Railroad as that crazed gunman. This was like 20 years ago. Colin Ferguson was just walking through the train, just shooting people, shooting, reloading, and nobody on the train had a gun. You couldn't bring it into New York City. Some of them may well have had guns at home, but you weren't allowed to carry a gun, and these hysterical women turn around and say, oh no, we must ban guns. Well, a lot more victims are going to be created. I mean, it's much like the research on unwed mothers I put in my book. By now, the research on concealed carry permits is in. The argument is over, and all they have left on their side are hysterical women.
You know, the thing that bugs me a lot about the left, Ann, is that they act like there is no argument, and how dare you bring something up?
Yes, yes. Well, that's the trick of their playing victims. They get offended, and he who was offended first wins. It's outrageous for you to even make an argument.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I have to tell you, I love the way that you put things in little capsules. For years, I got to tell you, this is a personal story. For years, it bothered me that I kept thinking, Joe McCarthy, why is that such a nasty word? And then, because I'm thinking, wasn't he the good guy going after the commies and stuff? And then I read your book, Treason, and I saw you on TV talking about McCarthyism and how he had been railroaded, and you finally brought it all to light for me. And I want to thank you personally for doing that for me.
Thank you. That was a great section of the book. And by the way, they never really argued with me on that. It's funny how generally I know which part of the book is going to cause the furor. Mm-hmm. I definitely thought it was going to be McCarthy, which is like a third of the book of treason. In Godless, I thought it would be the attack on Darwinism, or maybe even the title. I think if somebody called me Godless, I'd notice. No, liberals are cool with that. Then it was just don't say anything about the Jersey Girls. This book, Guilty, is the first time the chapter I wanted them to attack me on. I wanted to have the most discussion on the chapter on single mothers. Mm-hmm. Actually was the focus of the book. I left little breadcrumbs for them and put it right up in front in chapter 2. But that is one happy development with this book. I finally lured them into attacking what I think is the most important part of the book.
Now, I have another question. I'm sure you don't have an opinion on this at all, but I just thought I'd throw it out there about the octuplets.
It fits in perfectly with the single mother chapter. It's horrifying that one woman acting like the victim can do this to her own children. I'll say her own, even though it's by in vitro fertilization.
Right.
The interesting thing here is that liberals are appalled too. This is like the first time liberals have been appalled by bad behavior on the part of a single mother. And I don't think they would be appalled if this were one woman having 14 children with 14 different men.
Right.
So I'm not sure quite what it is that sets them off here. But it's horrifying to watch, as I detail in chapter 2 of my book on unwed mothers. The social science research is overwhelming now. The facts are in. The case is closed. Raising a children without two parents isn't good for the child. Yes, some women, it's foist on them. It's not their fault. By the way, the children of widows tend to do just fine, and I don't think they should be called single mothers. We have a word for them. They're called widows.
Right.
Divorced mothers, it's not necessarily their fault. There are only two culprits, either the mother or the father, but we don't know which one. But that's certainly not a premeditated decision. I'm going to raise my children without a father,
right?
And they shouldn't be called single mothers either, because we already have a phrase for them. Divorced mothers. Single mothers are women who, by their own volitional choices, get pregnant out of wedlock and then do not give the child up for adoption. Which, by the way, I discovered in researching Chapter 2, there aren't a lot of studies on the children of adoption because they're not out creating social problems, mugging us, going on welfare themselves. But there's one study of the children of adoption, and it turns out children of adoption turn out better than children who were not adopted.
Wow.
I know, it's a stunning fact. So a woman who is pregnant out of wedlock has a choice before her. Give my children the best possible chance in life by giving them up for adoption, or give them the worst possible chance in life by raising them without a father. So these narcissistic women ruin their own children's lives, and all we read about in newspapers are how, this or that government policy. Single mothers hit hardest, single mothers this, single mothers that. We have to pay for them, feed them, clothe them, and they're harming their own children. The Octomom is just the latest and Olympian version of this story. I think a lot of people are watching thinking, I wish the government could save these children, take them away, give them up to adoption, put them in loving adopting homes. They could turn out fine. They can't possibly turn out fine in this circumstance. Maybe one of the 14 could. But you're just ruining other humans' lives.
Right.
Let me tell you something I experienced. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you know, out in California, a very popular guy quite some time ago, State Senator Howard Kaloogian, and I think Howard actually ran for governor out there a few years back. We were going around and we would speak at high schools, and they would have people from the different parties would go in and we would speak, junior high schools. And I actually went into a high school in Southern California with Howard there, and I was there just in time to hear the teachers say two things. Some of this stuff that you're talking about is really, it's taught to our children. It's not something they just learn on the streets. There is a real push to actually teach them stuff in school in some cases. I heard this teacher say two things that just really blew me away, both of us. And one, she told the girls, okay, girls, don't get married and have your children. And I thought, bravo, okay? Don't have those kids right off the bat. But that's not where she was going. She says, have your children and then get married. The government will pay for it. That's the smart thing to do. And I looked at Howard and I said, tell me I didn't just hear that. Then she said, for you boys, I want you to pay attention. If you're smart, you are neat, you're organized, you're probably gay, and you need to face up to it. Now, we were standing there, State Senator Howard Kaloogian and myself, and heard that be told to these children. I was blown away.
Well, you've told me two things that take my breath away.
I heard Ann Coulter speechless.
You could probably, you couldn't do anything about teachers encouraging their female students to get pregnant out of wedlock and go on welfare. But if you're neat, you're probably gay. You could probably get her not only thrown out of teaching, but banned from the state of California for that.
Well, we had the school administrator standing right there in the doorway watching, and I looked at them, and no one said a word, and I thought, this is just insane. Now, I'm not picking on teachers. I love teachers. I love educators. I believe in education. But that's what we love about you, Ann, is you cut through all the bull. We're two no-nonsense kind of guys. We're not politically correct by any means.
Yes, I picked that up.
And so,
and I got my pickup truck back with a gun.
Absolutely right.
So, we're not picking on teachers, but we love you because you cut through all the mess. What we have to do in the country is stop being politically correct. We've got to sit down and take a stand and say, okay, look, this makes sense. I don't care if it comes from a Democrat. I don't care who it comes from. If it makes sense and it's good for the country, hey, let's go.
Right. Political correctness does control the Democratic Party now, though. I mean, this is what I've been figuring out about Obama, although he is very left-wing and just passed this enormous socialist welfare bill. Leave that aside and look just at national security. He's, by and large, and I hope this continuing the policies of George Bush. The things he claimed when he was running just completely went out the window as soon as he was the commander-in-chief. We're not shutting down Guantanamo. We're not ending renditions. We're not ending enhanced interrogation methods. We're not pulling out of Iraq. And when I talked to some Democrats about this, and, real live Democrats in Washington, and this was, privately over a small dinner, I said, wow, this guy, I was terrified on national security, and now he's not doing any of the things he said he was going to. And they looked at me like I was stark raving mad and said, of course he was never going to shut down Guantanamo. Are you mad? And the same thing with rendition and everything else, and it's something the Democratic Party does that the Republican Party does not do. I cannot think of a Republican running. Republicans may have ideas I don't like, George Bush with amnesty. They may have plans that they never get around to, like Reagan shutting down the Department of Education. But I can't think of anything a Republican candidate for president or anything else would say that I and all my friends would sit around and say, oh, he doesn't mean that, he's just pandering to the base. But the Democratic Party has a completely insane base, and they do pander to that base.
Right.
Obama is a politically correct president, saying one thing, doing another, which is kind of irritating enough in domestic context. I think it's dangerous in an international context. I don't think the Saudi royal family or Ahmadinejad, or Karzai have any idea that, oh no, he was just saying that for his crazy MoveOn.org base.
Exactly.
Hey, Ann, how can we, your average Joe six-pack and Jane six-packs, how can we get on board, like with you, and fight political correctness? What would you suggest that we do down here, locally? That sort of thing.
Well, your radio show is a fantastic start.
And you can call anytime, by the way.
There are a lot of things the average American can do. I think regular Americans with families and jobs don't realize how much power they have. But recall that it was average Americans with jobs and families that stopped the amnesty bill, that got Harriet Miers withdrawn, that stopped gay marriage dead in its tracks. So voting is really important. Working for conservatives running for office, and God bless you for running. It's a tough job. That's very important. Writing letters to someone you can vote for, that is to say your direct representative, very important. They read that. They notice how many phone calls they're getting on one issue or another. And just yesterday, I don't know if you've seen this, there are pictures up at Free Republic and among other places. When Obama landed in Mesa, Arizona, he was greeted by 500 protesters, and
Fabulous.
they were hilarious. The signs
my
are just magnificent, and I remembered, it's going to be a tough 4 years, and Obama may nearly wreck the country with this massive socialist spending bill, all for the government, not for actual jobs. But boy, conservatives are good when we're in the minority and we're an angry insurgency instead of the governing party. These signs at the protest were so fantastic yesterday, and they were, happy, beautiful right-wingers laughing and having fun.
Okay, well, now I know that you've got to go, but being an old disc jockey, I've got to do this. Can you say, "Hi, I'm Ann Coulter, and I like Mike and Spike"?
Yes, I can.
Go ahead.
Hello, I'm Ann Coulter, and I like Mike and Spike.
Fabulous. Okay.
Hey, where can we get your book at?
Yep.
Fine bookstores everywhere, and if there's any bookstore that's hiding it, by the way, just mention it on the Ann Coulter chat room. Books are not doing well right now. There's a recession going on. Don't know if the bookstore managers have heard. But one of these pimply, minimum wage book managers is not going to be jerking around Barnes and Noble or Borders or whatever.
Right.
This is a book that is selling well. If they're hiding it, we'll get them fired right now.
Fantastic. Hey, put us in your speed dialer, would you, Ann? And call.
I would. It's so great talking to you guys. I definitely would like to come back.
We've record all our shows, and we'll send you a copy of this too.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Right. Thank you, Ann. We appreciate you
Ann.
being on.
Love you.
Love you too.
Love you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.